Hey guys, this is your inspirational nurse _RN here comes to you live with another great video. This is your inspirational nurse, and on this channel, I am inspiring you to be the best version of yourself despite of your background. So stay tuned. Today's video is something a little bit different, and it's titled How to Not Let Toxic Behavior Influence Your Mental Health. So today's video is super special because mental health is extremely important to your health. It is part of your health, and it's something that many of us don't feel comfortable always about talking about, but today's video is going to help you out with how to deal with those toxic behaviors and not let it influence your mental health. So stay tuned. First off, let's talk about why toxic behaviors can influence your mental health, because when you're dealing with different toxic behaviors, whether it's from yourself or from others, it is not healthy. It will definitely influence and change your perspective on and views of the world and life and perceptions of how you think people are treating you or talking to you. It will definitely create a world and a lens of where you see how you see different situations and problems. So when you respond out of your emotions, this is why you might be responding out of your emotions a certain way, which can impact your mental health and cause you to either go down to a deep depression or cause a lot of anxiety. So for me, guys, my family life has not always been great. We have so many different toxic behaviors in our families, and my family, and just my upbringing and just different environments that I've been placed in as I had moved on as an adult and worked in different environments where it was so toxic, especially in healthcare. A lot of the environments are so toxic where you can feel it, like the thickness and tension in the air and in an environment. The problem with having toxic behaviors around you is that even if you have a certain persona about yourself and the way you carry yourself, sometimes being in that environment can definitely change how you feel and how you see things, because you're placed in a heavy toxic surroundings where people are behaving in a toxic manner and they know they're negative. So toxic behavior is just negativity. Basically, that's just what it is. It's you behaving negatively. You see the world in a negative manner. You don't see a lot of positive things. You ever been around someone who's very negative? Like, it don't matter the situation. It don't matter if it's something positive. They're always in that negative mood. They don't produce anything out of their mouth that is positive. Their response to everything is negative. A little bit of hope. So those people lack hope. They don't believe in any hope, and that just definitely has an influence on their faith in things. And so their faith is very little because their hope is very small, and their view of the world is very thin and tunnel vision. People that carry these toxic behaviors can be very tunnel vision people, meaning they see through one lens. It's just kind of like a binoculars, right? You know how binoculars have two holes, right, where you can see through. Well, for them, their view is through this one lens, and their view is very small, and their thinking is very small, and their hearts are very small. And so it definitely influences how they affect people around them. So when you're dealing with a lot of toxic behavior, a way to check your mental health is to check on your mental health. Like, every day, you need to start your day off positive before you go into a toxic environment. So if you work in a toxic environment, which most nurses talk about sometimes, if you could go through YouTube, they disclose different toxic environments. And it's easy when you wake up every day, and whether you read a quote from someone that you inspired by, or you listen to the word or some gospel music or something inspiring to you, and you start your day off that way. When you go into a toxic environment, it definitely helps with you channeling different things that might arise throughout your day. So you may have so many different things that come up against you that challenges the positive you, because this person is negative. So now they're challenging the positivity in you. Remember, we learned in like nursing school about the negatives and the positives. Well, that was chemistry, but negatives and positives and how they come together. And, so if you're thinking it that way, negative people will come up against positive people, right? Because positive people bring light into the room. We bring hope. We bring dreams, inspiration. We have our mood is in the right place. We're positive about things. We're looking forward to the future. We are comfortable where we're at currently and confident in what we're saying. And for someone who have toxic traits and very negative, they have a hard time seeing when you ever talk to somebody and they're very negative. You ever talk to a negative person and it's like it didn't seem like no matter what you say, they're just not taking it in, and it makes you very heartbroken because you're a positive person, and you have people that's around you that's very toxic. Toxic behavior is definitely over time. If you don't either make some changes to your life as far as choosing what kind of toxic behaviors you want around you, what kind of toxic people you don't want around you. And you do that by setting boundaries. So my family I grew up in a very toxic environment. And so the way that I protected me is I stay true to me and I set boundaries. So even to this day, as an adult, I let the negative people know that these are my boundaries. Do not cross my boundaries, because your boundaries are your safe place. It's like your security blanket. You might say, for an example, I am not going to tolerate you treating me this way, or I'm not going to tolerate you talking to me this way. Or if you want this relationship to work with me, I need X, Y, and Z. Please do not cross these lines. Now, once you set the boundaries in place, people who are very negative or even have narcissistic, toxic behaviors, they do not like when you set boundaries. It's kind of like putting a fence up when you buy a house. If you have a house that has a bunch of land but no fence, anybody can come into your land or anything can cross those barriers because there's none. But when you put a fence up, it just lets people know that this is an area that is restricted or private, that you cannot just come into their backyard or their land, because either it has a fence or has a sign that says do not enter. So it's kind of like you have to have those types of protections around your heart and your mind when you're dealing with toxic behaviors. So hopefully that analogy helps, because I simplify things when I'm talking to people, because I know there's so many people out there that's dealing with people with toxic behaviors, whether it's at work, whether it's in your family, whether it's at church or wherever. There's so many people walking around just so toxic. And it's kind of like seeing a plant that's trying to grow, but then you know how your plant gets all those those branches and leaves that start to brown out, and then they want to look like they're about to fall off because it looks like no water's getting there, no nutrition is getting there. And then you have to trim those areas in order for the tree to grow. It's kind of like those people are those dead parts of your tree. And you have to decide which part of the tree you're going to trim, and in order to not compromise your growth. So if you decided to join those toxic people, then you compromise and you sacrifice you as a person in order to meet the needs of someone else, which makes you a people pleaser, and it makes you idolize people instead of God, if that makes sense, because you allow people to continue to have this stronghold on you, which just diminishes you as a person, makes you feel very small. And that's how you know when it's not something positive, or you're dealing with something that's not of God, is because it's something that's diminishing you as a person, and it makes you feel as if you don't exist, like you are nothing. So dealing with toxic behaviors, it's very hard when it's something, if it's some place or someone that you truly care about and they choose that path, right? It's so hard to watch on the other side and see people and these toxic behaviors. Now, people can change, but again, people have to let the sunlight in, let the water in, just like those parts of the trees that are dying or dead. They have to let those nutritional things in order to grow, right? So I always ask people, what are you willing to sacrifice when you're dealing with toxic behaviors. How do you deal with toxic behaviors? So for me, the way that I deal with toxic behaviors now than to back then, I'm much stronger now because, again, what I learned is wisdom is everything. The more you know, the more you have understanding, the more you can make better decisions for yourself. I last year asked myself that am I worth it? Like, am I worth fighting for? Do I the things that I carry as a person and who I am I worth that fight? Because we have to choose our battles, right? Am I worth it? Or do I need to sacrifice and just to please the world and not please God? I had to, and when I graduated with my last degree, it was an emotional time for me because I realized that I was worth it. I was always worth it. I was always enough. I was always like carried all these things in me that maybe when you were younger you couldn't see about yourself. You probably noticed you were a little different from other people. And like, again, I realized negative people don't like positive people. They don't like people who bring joy in the room, who bring smile, who bring laughter, who can hold a conversation and who can focus and discover themselves and love on themselves, right? So love is also a way to help you deal with toxic behaviors. Still loving on people despite of what they do is something that tells you how strong you really are as a person, because literally you can take the easy way out and just be like, oh, just have your way with me, and compromise all the work and things that you put into yourself over the years. Now I'm at the point in my 30s, y'all. I love it because I'm at this point where now I've cut so many people out of my life that didn't need access in the first place. So I cut certain family members and certain friends and certain things out of my life that was not adding to my life. The more I was able to do that, the more I was rising up. So I felt like, how a hot air balloon rises up. I felt like in my hot air balloon, I had too many people standing in my hot air balloon that my hot air balloon could not take off. It was so many people in there, and God is like, you ain't going nowhere until, you start to realize that you are worth it. Like, I love you not because I created you, because of what's in you, right? And then you have to love yourself. Part of loving yourself will make you have the strength to take cut some of these toxic behaviors out, people, and make changes to your environment, anything that is diminishing you. And honey, now I can already in the beginning of a conversation tell that it's going to be a toxic conversation, or this person is going to display toxic behavior towards me, or I'm in a toxic environment that is not good for me. I automatically now deal with it beforehand, instead of being naive about the situation. That people are just not, some people are never going to change. They chose their path. And so you can't feel like you're a savior and going in and trying to save everybody because you feel like that's your mission, because God saved you and you took the delivery and you ran with it and you got yourself together. Everybody is not going to do that. So the energy that you're pouring into people, some people are not going to pour back into you because they said, leave me alone. I chose my path. Leave me alone. I chose to sin. I'm choosing to put this drug in my body. I'm choosing to, drink. I'm choosing to, have a negative attitude. I'm choosing to be angry. They're choosing that. So sometimes I learned that when we get to a point in our life where we need to be, we want everybody else to have that same experience and get to that point because it's a happy place. And we want people to get to that point. And then we're like, but they still choosing to be negative and choosing their path. You have to respect people for where they at. And when somebody tell you, this is who I am, believe it. When somebody tell you I'm a thief, believe it. Somebody tell you I'm a liar, believe them. When they're displaying these behaviors over and over again, don't think that that's going to opt you to go ahead and try to change them, because God is like, who instructed you to be their savior? You're not God. You cannot make those changes. They have to open up their hearts to want to change. So as for you, you got to make decisions every day that you wake up, which is a gift, to say, I'm choosing me. I'm choosing me. And when I started to choose me, my self-care increased, my love for myself increased. Now, every Friday, I give myself something. And let me tell y'all, I'm not talking about like no purse or no nothing. I'm talking about I just go to McDonald's. Yes, girl. And I get my iced coffee, and I get the meal, the big breakfast meal. Like I'm doing something big. Look at me. Get the big breakfast meal, because back in the day, McDonald's was a privilege, y'all. It wasn't something I could get every day, right? And that would be my treat. I get a iced coffee that I want of the day, whether it's from Dunkin' Donuts. Most of the time, I go to McDonald's and just get the frappe. Shout out for my caramel frappe lovers. And this video's not got nothing to do with McDonald's, but I'm just saying. But every Friday, I give myself something. I order my something. If I'm off from work, I'll order my something, a lunch in while I'm at home, so I don't have to cook myself lunch. I'll go get my feet done, nails done. And I have more love and more self-care, because now I'm pouring back into myself. The energy that I was given to toxic behaviors and toxic people, I'm now pouring into the right place, which is myself. Because who's going to pour back into you? Who's going to recharge you? It's hard being the same one, the one with the mental health that is stabilized, right? And to help me to stay, like I said, to keep a healthy mental state around toxic people is, again, you set those boundaries. People that are very negative do not like boundaries. They do not. I have boundaries as far as with my social media, anything with my Facebook, anything. I might say, hey, you're not going to have access to it. My boundaries is you're not going to do this or you're not going to do that. Once you do that, now you're guarding your mental state, your thoughts, and your heart, right? You got to be very clear about what you're saying. You have to stop feeling like you can fix everybody or be a savior to everybody with the savior complex, because you're having a positive experience because you chose the right path. Everybody's not. So you have to be realistic with your behaviors as well. You have to check yourself. And you have to reflect and saying, what I'm doing, is it being productive? Is it producing anything positive? If not, am I wasting my time? Always pray on things before you go ahead and start doing. That will also keep your mental health in check. I don't know who you pray to, or what, meditate or whatever. A good way to also check your mental health with toxic behaviors is to write down, maybe on a journal or blog it or whatever, so you can capture those moments when things were occurring around you and you're frustrated and you need to, that emotions that you're feeling, and you put it out on writing. And then the days that it's not so bad, or the days that you're like, let me go back. You can go back to see where your mental state was at the time when you was dealing with certain situations and certain behaviors. And it's hard to, like I said, keep your behaviors and your mental state stable when you're in a very tense and stressful environment with a lot of toxic behaviors. You need to stay true to you. You need to stay very firm when you are speaking and what you're doing. You need to, if it's a work environment, you need to stay very firm and very calm about what you're saying. Because very calm doesn't give anybody ammunition or access to your emotions. It's when you open your heart to that negative person and you internalize what they say, then that's when it influences your behavior and influences your anger. And then you got two angry people, right? If you stay calm and you stay firm, then you keep going on, and you're not acknowledging that type of behavior. You're basically giving a message, even though you're not talking. You're giving a clear message to say, I'm not tolerating that, but in a way where it's not going to endanger you or the person, because sometimes over time of dealing with all this toxic behavior, it makes you it can make you very toxic. And or you can start picking up characteristic traits from toxic people and negative people and not even know it. Another thing is to listen to when people are giving you feedback, close friends, people who really, really know you, like really know you. If they're saying, hey girl, I notice you do this now. Like, I notice you don't validate my feelings, or I notice you don't listen to me no more when I'm talking. You used to be a great listener. Like, if you start to notice you're slipping away, like the true you is slipping away, it's because you're in an environment. It's like being institutionalized in a jail, and everybody is in gangs, and everybody is, being toxic and being negative, and you're in this institution. You have nowhere to go, and that's what you're around every day. Sometimes you can pick up behaviors, and you be like, did I just do that? Like, so you got to check yourself. You got to check yourself. You got to listen and pay and observe your own behavior and your own self. And you have to self-love yourself and say, hey, I'm worth it. I'm worth, changing my environment. I'm worth not talking to that person because it's going to cause me my hopes and dreams and the light and that beautiful thing. When you're a positive person and that thing is powerful. Being positive is in a dark time is very, very, very hard to do, but it's very powerful because it's also an influence on people that are negative. They'll go, man, I did all these things to you. You still remain positive. You still remain true to yourself. That takes strength. I used to think that taking strength mean I cuss you back out. We fighting. That doesn't mean nothing. That just means that I just imaged and I just repeated the same behaviors that was done to me and not even know it because I thought that was a way to problem solve, right? You got to know how to problem solve when you're dealing with toxic behaviors. You have to declare that you're going to have a good day regardless of what your day may look like. You need to start your day off in declaring what you want your day to look like. You have to start speaking over your days, over the toxic people, environment, and say, I'm declaring that I'm going to remain true to me, that I'm going to remain positive, that I'm going to remain da-da-da-da-da, whatever that means. You have to speak what you want. As soon as you speak negative happens. As soon as you give up and you say, you know what? Just let them do what they want. Stuff happens. But when you declare powerful messages over your day, over your life, and what you want things to change, it starts to change. It starts to change. But you have to speak it. You have to speak what you know. And say, no, I know I love myself. I know that I'm a good person. I know that X, Y, and Z, right? So you have to check your mental health on what you know. You have to check on it every day. You got to check on your mental health because you're going to be tested daily, several times a day sometimes. You're going to be tested. And you have to be able to withstand what the tests are that's going to be happening. But you have to declare that you will always have victory, no matter the storm, no matter the test, no matter the problems or the things that might come up. You have to be able to be strong enough to withstand the negative, right? Despite of what people do. That takes strength to be able to do that. Also, you need to be writing down things on the paper that represent you and say, I am. You know how in school they had us write like thousands of sentences? I feel like in school, my hand would have fell off because so many, our consequences back then in school was to write this word 20,000 times and write this sentence 20,000 times. Y'all remember that? For y'all 80s and 90 babies and whatever. Y'all know y'all parents would be like, or your school would be like, now write this word 20,000 times. And you'd be like, or write this definition 30,000 times. I remember we had to write things over and over and over again. But you need to write down on a sheet of paper, I am enough. I am beautiful. I am. You need to write things about yourself and self-discover and have more self-awareness of who you really are and what you're able to tolerate. And that would tell you who you are on paper. And you can read about yourself. And you can say, well, I am courageous. I am strong. And then you need to write down, I am not going to tolerate this. I will not compromise this. And then you stick to those things, right? That's going to discover who you are, how you how you see yourself, and how people perceive you. Because people can perceive you differently than what you present, because either their lens and what they're seeing is always negative, so they can never see the positive things in you. They're going to just misconstrue anything that you're saying when you're dealing in certain environments with certain people. Unfortunately, certain people just don't want to change. They don't want to admit that you are doing the right thing and you are a big influence on them. I have people that tell me that, even way older than me, that they've been watching me, and I've been a big inspiration to them, and I didn't even know, and I'm like, wow, people really pay attention to my behavior and how I carry myself as a young lady and how I deal with certain behaviors. Now I'm quick to cut a snake head off quick. And that doesn't mean anything negative. It means spiritually, you see certain things. I'm quick now to stop the enemy in his tracks before I allow myself to go through all this mishap between me and someone else or an environment or certain things. I stop it in the beginning. And I already know and can declare, like, no, and protect myself. So my protection for myself now is on autopilot mode. It automatically happens now with any encounter that I have with people, with certain environments. I remember making a video about being a professional in an unprofessional environment, because working in healthcare is sometimes can be very unprofessional and very toxic. And people still want you to be like this bubbly nurse, happy, and if you see somebody smile like that, is not a true smile all the time. They're putting on a front. They're masking their feelings. I'd rather have someone come into my room if I'm a patient, true to how they feeling. If they, they're not having a good day, I'm going to know, because even they smiling weird like this, but they're displaying other behaviors, I know they're not having a good day, right? Every day ain't going to be a good day. So I feel like sometimes there's not a safe place for nurses or healthcare workers to discuss things that's happening. I feel like there's not a safe place where you can go and say, this is going on and it's affecting me. Like, it's really affecting my mental state, and I don't know, I can't run from it because there's so much of it, the toxicity, that I feel like I'm going to septic shock. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's real. And so many, especially in the military, there's so many people like killing themselves and suicidal about things, because a lot of times people don't feel like they have a safe zone for them to talk about their thoughts and feelings, even if people don't agree with it. I even gave advice to a hospital about new grads. I felt like new graduates, especially new nurses, need a safe place. Like, the new nurses, I feel like, get so much heat and get placed in all those toxic environments so quickly. It kind of diminishes their hopes and dreams of continuing their education and want to stay in the healthcare field, and they're not lasting. And they have no safe place to go. Like, I suggest that new grads have a place where they can talk about the doctors that yell at them, or talk about the toxic family that they had to deal with all week, or talking about losing a patient, or talk about when, they might have made a mistake and how they feel about themselves, or, they have nowhere to go with this information. So when you don't have nowhere to go, when you don't create a place for healthcare workers to have a place where they can like discuss this, because it's always good to discuss things like this with other healthcare workers, because they understand, because we're all healthcare workers, what things feel like. It creates a toxic environment where people start to gossip and, talk about people, or you think you made a friend and you're sharing your information, and then they use that against you, and then you don't trust nobody. Then as soon as you go to work, it's just so toxic, so much tension. There's really no safe place. You think you're talking to a seasonal nurse about things, and then you know, they don't look at you the same, because you might have a different opinion or about things or how things should be. It's no safe environment for nurses and student nurses to go and talk about what their fears are, what their concerns are, what they want to achieve, without the judgment. It's just a weird time, you know. I know back then when I was in school, in like middle school and elementary, I felt like our teachers back then were like a safe place to discuss things with. I don't know about y'all, but my teachers were the best. 5th grade, 8th grade, and I felt like I had some really good like angels. I felt like God sent me angels through my teachers, and they were a safe place for me to discuss, problems at home, my thoughts about boys, how I was seeing myself, and they would speak life into me and tell me that I had the full package, which I heard that a lot of times. I didn't know what that meant, but now I know. But they were like, you always told me I had a full package. I was so smart. I used to read a lot of books, and I had like 2 awards for reading the most books. I was definitely like one of those readers that read a book in a day. Like I wouldn't put the book down. And pour into me, teach me about myself and my confidence, and just very nurturing, a very safe place to discuss the things, because I had to go back to my home, which was in a toxic environment. But every day that I came into school, I felt safe, because it was a safe place for me to put my thoughts and fears and feelings into it, and I was releasing it, because releasing is healthy when you're around a lot of toxic behaviors and you're trying to keep your mental health in check. It's good to be able to release to somebody or somewhere where it's just, for 100% this is a safe place for you to be your authentic self, and disclose those things and release and let go of a lot of things that you shouldn't be holding on to. So your air balloon can go up in the air and float around. Part of that is letting go things that people do to you, whether it's in this healthcare field. You're going to have tons of challenges. I've been through so much, but I let it go. I don't hold grudges. I don't try to retaliate. I guess in my mind, I said God sees it all, and I know for a fact He did see it all. Like He's watching, and I'm protected, and I don't feel like I have to retaliate. I don't feel like, even though I will not forget what happened, but definitely in this healthcare field, it can definitely get to you. These environments being so toxic that when you get home, you might bring some of those toxic behaviors to your household. You might be more moody and irritable, and then don't want to really talk to people. You ever been a nurse, come home from work all week, and then you just like your phone is off? You're just like in the house laying under the covers, don't want to talk to nobody, away from the world. And everybody's like calling you like, what's wrong with her? And you just like, I just don't want to deal with people, period. And that's because a lot of times you're dealing with toxic behaviors all day. So when you're getting home, because you didn't have any positive encounters with anybody, it's like you want to escape, more so avoid what you was feeling all week and the things that you had to deal with. And then, again, it's all about your lenses, your binoculars, how you see things, how you see the world. And the people that need to be let go out of your life, they're either going to be dropping out of your life on their own, or there's going to be situations that are going to come up, and you're going to have the strength to say, hey, I'm sorry. This is not a relationship. This is compromising my morals and values as myself, and sacrificing my beliefs and self to have a relationship with you. I'm basically giving up my full self to be with you. And this is not a relationship. I had to tell somebody this morning, a family member, like, this is not a relationship, and these are my boundaries, and I'm not changing that. You have to stick to your word, and you have to be very firm when you're dealing with people that are very negative. You have to be very firm and very calm and just say, I'm sorry, but these are my boundaries. This is, you either meet me here in the middle, or I'm sorry, this is just not gonna work. And let me tell you, it is like the more you release, the more you're able to, the more peace you have in your heart. You have way more peace. The more you let go, the more peace you get. And peace means you just at a place where it's so calming. It's like so the ocean is my favorite place. So it's like being at the beach all day, relaxing, hearing the waves, hearing the birds go by, and I'm just so calm and so relaxed. Like nothing is I'm not internalizing any of the negativity. It's kind of like that type of peace. The more I let go, the more peace I have in my heart. Where things don't even bother me like they used to anymore. My tolerances change. My own behavior for my own self has changed. I'm enjoying more of my life than ever before, because I always tell myself I was worth it. I was worth the fights. I was worth the challenges that uprised against me. I was worth everything. I'm willing to fight for this girl all the way to the end. I'm supposed to be here. I'm alive. So that meant I have a purpose. I'm supposed to be here. And when you speak firmly and calm, it decreases those toxic behaviors, because it makes the toxic person or environment go, oh man, and nothing we could do to her that's going to influence her. Now, back then, as soon as people were negative towards me, my anger was like, woo. The way I would deal with things was like, they used to, it was like pushing a special button in me. They would get me so upset that it would influence how I was getting my sleep on. It would ruin my day. And now, I don't even let nobody ruin my day. I say my day is going to go on. My life is going to go on, with you or without you. It's going to go on. And it does. It doesn't push any. And I'm so proud to get to this point. It took some time, y'all, because being around toxic people it just makes you want to pull your hair out. Or toxic behavior environments. It just makes you want to just isolate. And then when you isolate, it's just you and the walls around you, and you're vulnerable at that time, because you're just avoiding things at that point, and you're avoiding the world around you, which can put you in a depression state, or not stabilized at all, not healthy, because you're isolating yourself. You're like, I'm just going to stay away. I'm just going to stay away. Where you have to live your life. You shouldn't have to live your life in a cave. You deserve to live a life outside of that cave. Hiding in the cave to avoid the world and the problems, all you're doing is putting yourself in a jail cell. You're locking your mind up, you're locking your heart, you're locking your life up, and you're not gonna live your life 100% in that cave because of what people are doing. The best version of your life is you actually living your life and learning how to deal with dealing with toxic behaviors, learning how to deal with that. That takes time. But being in a cave, all you're doing is being in jail. You're locking your own self up and giving up and saying, you know what, I don't care. I'm just going to stay away from everybody. That is not always the answer either. So hopefully this video was super helpful. I don't know where all this came from, but I felt like talking about it because I feel like knowledge is everything. I hope this inspirational channel is inspiring you to be a better version of you, regardless of your background. So stay tuned.